A silent explosion that still echoes. On April 26, 1986, a routine safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine turned into the world's worst nuclear disaster. Reactor number 4 exploded. A massive cloud of radioactive material burst into the sky, spreading across Europe. More than 350,000 people had to leave their homes. Some never returned. But what happened next was even stranger than fiction. Nature reclaimed Chernobyl. Forests grew, animals returned, and strange DNA mutations appeared in all life forms. Was this a sign of danger, or nature's way of healing itself? What is radiation, and why is it so dangerous? Before we dive into what was discovered, let's quickly understand what radiation is. Radiation is energy released in waves or particles. It happens naturally, like from the sun, or artificially, like in a nuclear plant. But in Chernobyl, after the explosion, huge amounts of radioactive materials like iodine 131, cesium 137, and strontium 90 were released into the air, water, and soil. Radiation can damage cells and DNA. High exposure causes burns, cancers, birth defects, or death. But what happens to animals, plants, and even humans who stay in contaminated areas for years or decades? 1. The red forest. Right after the explosion, a large patch of pine forest near the plant turned reddish-brown, like it had been scorched without fire. That's why it's now called the red forest. These trees died almost instantly from the radiation blast. But strangely, some new trees began to grow years later. Scientists observed that many had twisted branches, stunted growth, and missing parts, signs of mutation caused by radiation exposure. Some insects that normally lived in trees, like bees and ants, vanished. The ecosystem changed completely, creating a bizarre natural lab for studying the long-term effects of radiation. 2. Mutant plants. Even decades later, researchers continue to study Chernobyl's plants, and what they found is both eerie and fascinating. Many plants show strange growth patterns: sunflowers with double heads, birch trees that twist and grow in spirals, and ferns with curled or forked leaves. It looks like nature distorted, but not destroyed. Instead of dying off, these plants survive. In fact, some seem to be adapting. Scientists believe that certain species may be boosting their DNA repair systems, helping them live in the radioactive soil. One of the most surprising experiments involved planting crops like wheat and barley right in the contaminated soil. While some grew with odd shapes or uneven growth rates, others appeared completely healthy, raising big questions. Could nature be evolving fast enough to handle even the most toxic environments? Are these plants just tough survivors? Or are we witnessing evolution in action, forced by disaster? Chernobyl's forest may hold the answers. 3. Animals in Chernobyl. With humans gone, something wild happened. Literally. Nature began to reclaim the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Wolves, deer, wild boars, foxes, and even the rare European bison now roam freely through the abandoned towns and forests. Shockingly, many of these animals are not just surviving, they're thriving, in numbers higher than in nearby untouched regions. But that raises a haunting question. Are they normal, or have they mutated? Scientists uncovered some eerie details. Birds in the zone have brains up to 5% smaller. Rodents like voles carry DNA damage not seen outside the zone. Swallows? Some have twisted beaks, crooked tails, or strange white spots on their feathers, mutations rarely found elsewhere. And yet life goes on. These creatures still hunt, fly, breed, and adapt. Despite the radiation, evolution is rewriting the rules, creating a living laboratory where nature is both wounded and astonishingly resilient. It's survival, but not as we know it. 4. Frogs turn black. In 2016, researchers found something strange. Some eastern tree frogs in Chernobyl had turned jet black. Normally, these frogs are bright green. So what happened? The dark color, scientists believe, helps the frogs better absorb radiation and protect their cells. Melanin, the same pigment that darkens human skin, may be shielding these frogs from radiation's worst effects. 5. Insects and birds. Insects are incredibly sensitive to changes in their environment, and after the Chernobyl disaster, their reaction was dramatic. Scientists saw a sharp decline in bee and butterfly populations, while grasshoppers and beetles developed bizarre mutations like extra legs or deformed wings. Even barn swallows showed strange abnormalities, crossed beaks, odd feathers, and signs of partial albinism. But nature didn't give up. Over time, in zones with lower radiation, some insect species began to bounce back. This surprising recovery revealed something important. Radiation doesn't affect all creatures equally, and the dose truly matters. Birds, too, added clues to the puzzle. Some birds had elevated levels of antioxidant enzymes which helped protect them from radiation's harmful effects. These birds stayed healthier, suggesting that certain genetic traits might give them an edge in surviving such harsh conditions. It's a fascinating example of how life, even after a nuclear disaster, can adapt and evolve in extraordinary ways. 6. Humans and the Chernobyl legacy. The human cost of Chernobyl was devastating, and it didn't end in 1986. In the days after the explosion, 134 plant workers and firefighters suffered acute radiation sickness. 28 died within months. Then came a wave of suffering. Thousands of children across Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia later developed thyroid cancer, triggered by radioactive iodine. More than 5 million people were exposed to radioactive fallout. But the story didn't end there. Even decades later, scientists are uncovering new genetic scars. Children born to Chernobyl cleanup workers, known as liquidators, still show increased DNA mutations. Some of these may be harmless or even helpful, while others remain uncertain. What's chilling is that the full picture of radiation's legacy in human DNA is still unfolding. These invisible changes may ripple across generations, leaving behind a haunting question. What damage still lies hidden in our genes? 7. Are these mutations dangerous or natural? Mutations sound like something out of a horror movie, but they're not always bad. In fact, they're a normal part of life and evolution. Mutations can be neutral, meaning they don't cause any visible change. They can be harmful, sometimes causing illness or deformities. But they can also be beneficial, helping living things survive tough conditions. Radiation, like the kind released during the Chernobyl disaster, speeds up the mutation process. But here's the twist. It doesn't always do what scientists expect. In the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, researchers have seen every type of mutation play out. Some birds were born weaker and didn't live long. Others, surprisingly, evolved darker feathers that helped protect them from radiation. Certain plants failed to grow altogether, while others seemed to learn how to repair their DNA. It's as if nature is rewriting the rules on the fly. What we're witnessing is evolution in fast forward, a raw, chaotic process where life tries to adapt in real time. Some changes are tragic, others are mind-blowingly clever. 8. The new role of DNA research. Today, with powerful tools like genome sequencing, scientists can zoom in and study how radiation changes DNA at the tiniest level, right down to the building blocks of life. What they've uncovered is both shocking and inspiring. They now know how radiation breaks DNA strands, sometimes snapping them clean in half. They've also identified genes that help certain animals and plants resist radiation, like genetic shields forged in crisis. Even more fascinating, the mutation patterns vary by species, revealing a complex survival story unfolding over decades. But the impact goes far beyond Chernobyl. These discoveries are reshaping cancer research, offering clues to how cells mutate and repair. They're guiding space agencies, preparing astronauts for radiation exposure in deep space. And they're influencing the design of safer nuclear reactors. What began as a disaster is now driving science into the future, turning tragedy into one of the most powerful learning tools of our time. 9. Chernobyl's wolves and dogs. Chernobyl's wild wolves are now being studied for another reason. They seem incredibly healthy despite radiation. Researchers are analyzing their genetics to see if they've developed resistance. Even more touching are the Chernobyl dogs, descendants of pets left behind in 1986. Many live around the ruins of the plant, forming packs and raising new generations. In 2023, scientists released a study showing these dogs had distinct genetic differences from other dogs in Ukraine. These unique DNA markers could point to adaptation or long-term effects of low-level radiation. Chernobyl's dogs, once abandoned, are now helping us understand radiation in a whole new way. 10. What does it mean for the future of life on Earth? Chernobyl is more than a disaster site. It's a living lab, showing how nature fights back against impossible odds. Decades after the meltdown, scientists are shocked by what they see. Life is more adaptable than we imagined. Some animals and plants have evolved rapidly, not over millions of years, but just a few decades. Wolves, birds, and trees now thrive where radiation once made survival unthinkable. Nature, it seems, finds a way. These discoveries offer surprising hope. As the world battles climate change, nuclear threats, and environmental collapse, Chernobyl delivers a powerful message. Life doesn't give up easily. Even in the most toxic corners of Earth, resilience blooms, proving that nature's will to survive may be stronger than we ever believed. 11. Pop culture versus scientific reality. TV shows and movies have shown Chernobyl mutations as grotesque or terrifying. But reality is far more complex. Yes, there are mutations. Yes, some are harmful. But many are subtle, slow, or even adaptive. The real Chernobyl story is not about monsters. It's about resilience. It's a story where frogs turn black to survive, birds adapt their feathers, and wild animals take back land humans fled. It's not science fiction. It's real and still unfolding. 12. Could this happen again? Sadly, yes. Chernobyl wasn't the last. Today, over 400 nuclear reactors are still active worldwide. Accidents like Fukushima in 2011 prove that while nuclear energy is powerful, it comes with serious risks. But Chernobyl changed everything. It forced the world to rethink radiation safety, build stronger emergency plans, and invent better monitoring tools. Scientists even learned how radiation affects genes, helping us prepare for future disasters. Yet the biggest lesson didn't come from machines. It came from nature. In Chernobyl's silent forests, life adapted, plants mutated, animals returned, and ecosystems slowly revived. It's a haunting reminder. Even after destruction, life doesn't give up. It bends. It survives. It fights back. In conclusion, Chernobyl today is a place of contradiction. It's dangerous, yet full of life. It's silent, yet full of discovery. It's a graveyard of the past and a testing ground for the future. The mutations scientists found were sometimes tragic, sometimes miraculous, but they all share one thing. They tell the story of life under pressure. Nature, it seems, never stands still, even when we do. Chernobyl isn't just about what was lost. It's about what changed and what might still evolve. Enjoying the content? Subscribe for more informative videos. Hit the bell to stay updated, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.